Have you ever wondered why some people command respect without even trying, while others scream for attention yet remain invisible? The problem isn't strength, wealth, or appearance. It's something deeper. In this video, we'll uncover the one trait that separates the truly confident from the pretenders, truth Machiavelli hinted at, but only the few dare to master. True confidence begins where external influence ends. Most people live in a constant state of reaction, as if their entire existence depends on the mood, approval, or disapproval of others. When someone criticizes them, their spirit shrinks. When they are praised, they inflate like a balloon, fragile and ready to burst with the next pinprick of rejection. This is not strength. It is dependency. And dependency disguised as confidence will always collapse when pressure mounts. The truly confident, however, operate from an entirely different foundation. They carry within them an inner center of power, a place so stable and unmoved that no insult can penetrate it and no flattery can corrupt it. It is not that they are blind to the opinions of others, but rather that those opinions do not define them. Imagine a man standing in the midst of a storm. Winds howl, lightning cracks. The world around him shakes, yet his posture remains the same. That is the image of inner power. The world may rage, but he is anchored. This kind of confidence cannot be built on appearances or achievements, for those are external and fragile. Wealth can be lost, beauty fades, titles can be stripped, and status can vanish overnight. If a person's sense of self is built only upon these, then the self will collapse alongside them. The inner center of power is not built on such temporary scaffolding. It is built in solitude, forged in silence, and tested through struggle. It is an internal fortress that no external force can seize. Most people misunderstand confidence as loudness, as dominance, or as the ability to control others. If you look closely, you will see that those who shout the loudest often do so to mask their own emptiness. Noise is rarely proof of strength. True power has no need to prove itself. In fact, the man who carries this inner center of power often speaks less, acts with restraint, and chooses his movements carefully. People notice it even without words. They sense the gravity of someone who cannot be shaken. The reason this kind of confidence commands respect is because it is rare. Most people are swayed by the smallest breeze of public opinion. They change their beliefs to fit the crowd. They mold their behaviors to avoid rejection. They crave acknowledgement so desperately that their lives become little more than a performance. In contrast, the one who stands rooted in his own essence does not perform for anyone. He is not afraid to be disliked because he has already made peace with himself. He is not intoxicated by applause because he does not need it to feel whole. This freedom, this independence of the soul, is magnetic. People gravitate toward it, even when they cannot explain why. To build this inner center of power, a man must first confront his own weakness. He must see clearly the ways in which he is ruled by the opinions of others. He must recognize the moments when he acts not from conviction, but from fear of disapproval. This requires ruthless honesty, the kind that strips away illusions. It is not easy, because the ego is skilled at disguising insecurity as strength. But when a man is willing to face the truth about himself, he begins the process of liberation. Another essential part of this transformation is learning to master emotion. Confidence does not mean the absence of fear, doubt, or anger. It means the ability to hold those emotions without being ruled by them. When insulted, the weak man reacts instantly, his emotions dragging him like a slave. The strong man feels the sting of insult, but he remains unmoved, choosing his response deliberately. This discipline creates a presence that others instinctively respect. It shows that he is not at the mercy of the world, but the master of himself. The inner center of power also grows in silence. In a world addicted to noise, distraction, and constant movement, silence has become uncomfortable. Silence is where a man meets himself. In silence, the illusions fall away. The masks he wears for others lose their grip. It is in these moments that the truly confident discover who they are apart from the world's demands. This knowledge cannot be taken away by failure, rejection, or even betrayal. Once a man knows himself deeply, he becomes untouchable. It is not surprising that such men naturally inspire authority without trying. When they enter a room, their energy fills it, not because they seek attention, but because their centeredness radiates. Others feel it. They sense that here is someone who does not bend easily, who does not dance to the tunes of approval or collapse under criticism. And because the world is full of those who waver, the one who does not becomes a figure of influence. The most invisible chains in human life are not forged from iron, but from the endless hunger for validation. It is the subtle addiction to praise, the quiet desperation for approval, the restless fear of rejection. These chains are the very reason so many people appear strong on the outside, yet crumble the moment their worth is questioned. A man can build wealth, status, and even power, but if his sense of identity is tied to the applause of others, he remains a prisoner. His entire life becomes a performance staged for the shifting moods of the crowd, and like all performances, it leaves him exhausted, hollow, and fragile. The truly confident, however, are free from this endless pursuit. Their value is not rented from others, it is self-contained. They do not wake up each day wondering who will notice them, who will admire them, or who will give them permission to feel valuable. They carry their worth within, untouchable and unshaken. This detachment is not coldness, nor is it arrogance. It is the highest form of independence, a freedom that places a man beyond manipulation, because there is nothing anyone can give or take from him that alters his essence. Consider how easily most people are controlled. A single compliment can make them pliant. A single insult can break their spirit. Flattery has toppled empires, just as criticism has destroyed countless ambitions. The man who requires validation lives at the mercy of those who know how to manipulate it. He becomes predictable, swayed by approval, silenced by rejection, never realizing that the power others hold over him is power he himself has surrendered. The man who does not depend on validation becomes ungovernable in spirit. He can listen without being controlled, he can receive praise without intoxication, and he can endure criticism without collapse. This detachment creates a paradox. The ones who do not chase validation often become the very ones who receive it in abundance. People are instinctively drawn to those who do not beg for recognition. There is something magnetic about the person who walks into a room without needing to be noticed, yet everyone notices anyway. His presence is not a performance, but a statement of freedom. He does not carry the desperation of trying to be liked, and that lack of need becomes a rare and intoxicating quality. When someone is deeply detached from validation, their relationships also transform. They no longer compromise their authenticity to maintain approval. They no longer say yes when they mean no. Nor do they bend themselves into shapes that others demand. They stop playing the endless game of trying to be pleasing, agreeable, or impressive. Instead, they stand firmly in their truth, and those who cannot accept it fall away. Far from being a loss, this creates clarity, for what remains is genuine connection. People drawn to the man, not the mask he wears. This kind of detachment also strengthens decision-making. Most individuals hesitate, overthink, and drown in the fear of judgment. They ask themselves, "What will they think of me?" before daring to act. But those who have mastered this inner freedom act with clarity and conviction. They do not waste energy calculating the shifting tides of opinion. They are guided not by the unstable approval of others, but by their own vision, principles, and values. This gives their actions a weight that others lack. It is why leaders who are detached from validation often command more respect than those who constantly chase it. To arrive at this state requires a deep confrontation with one's own insecurities. It is not enough to say, "I don't care what others think." Many repeat this phrase as a shield, but their actions betray them. True detachment is not indifference, it is mastery. It does not come from pretending not to care, but from cultivating such an inner foundation that external voices lose their ability to shake it. This transformation demands solitude, reflection, and a willingness to face the fear of rejection until it no longer holds power. Detachment from validation also means learning to live without constant noise from the outside world. So many fill their days with distractions, social approval, online recognition, constant comparisons, because silence terrifies them. Silence strips away the illusions, forcing them to meet themselves without masks. Yet it is only in this silence that detachment can grow. For when a man no longer requires the constant echoes of approval, he begins to hear his own voice clearly. That voice, once found, becomes the compass that no crowd can override. And so, The man who has detached from validation walks a different path. He is calm where others are restless, steady where others are shaken, free where others are enslaved by invisible chains. His worth is not a fragile reflection in the mirror of public opinion, but a fire burning within, untouchable by the shifting winds of the world. In a world where most people equate confidence with loudness, aggression, or constant self-promotion, the truly confident carry a different weapon: stillness. It is a kind of power that does not shout, does not rush, and does not beg to be recognized, yet its presence is undeniable. Stillness in this sense is not passivity, nor is it weakness. It is restraint, deliberate control, and the mastery of timing. It is a mask that reveals nothing yet commands everything, a quality that creates mystery and respect far greater than noise ever could. Consider how often insecurity hides itself behind performance. The one who lacks inner certainty feels compelled to announce himself constantly, to prove his worth in every interaction, to rush into every silence with words. He believes that movement, sound, and constant effort will make him appear powerful. But those who are truly powerful rarely feel this need. They understand that silence itself can carry more weight than speech, that a pause can dominate a room more effectively than an endless stream of words. Stillness becomes their shield and their weapon at the same time. Machiavelli understood that in politics, war, and human interaction, restraint often outweighs action. To hold back when provoked, to observe while others reveal themselves, to maintain composure while the world is in chaos. These are the marks of someone who has mastered the art of stillness. And what is remarkable is how this stillness creates an aura around the person who wields it. Others cannot easily predict him, cannot read him, cannot manipulate him, because he is not reactive. His silence forces others to fill the space, and in doing so, they often expose themselves. Stillness is also a test of patience, and patience is one of the rarest forms of strength. The impatient man reveals his weakness by acting too quickly, speaking too much, or showing his hand before the right time. The still man, however, waits. He allows opportunities to ripen, he allows others to reveal their intentions, and when he finally does act, his movements carry precision and weight. It is not that he does nothing, it is that he chooses when to do something with such care that his actions strike with maximum effect. In conversation, the mask of stillness is even more powerful. When others rush to fill silence, the confident man allows it to stretch. That pause unsettles people, forcing them to question themselves, to reveal more than they intended, to seek his approval without him offering anything. This is why the still man often controls the rhythm of interactions without speaking much at all. His presence shapes the dynamic, and others instinctively follow his lead. This is not manipulation in the shallow sense, but mastery of human psychology at its core. Stillness also has a profound effect on perception. A man who is quick to react, who snaps, argues, or explains himself endlessly, gives away his power. He shows that his emotions are easily stirred, that he is vulnerable to provocation. But a man who remains calm, who does not reveal his inner state so easily, becomes unreadable. Others project strength onto him simply because they cannot see weakness. His silence becomes a canvas on which others paint their fears, desires, and assumptions. This projection amplifies his aura, giving him influence without effort. The mask of stillness is not only for dealing with others, it is also for dealing with oneself. A confident man does not rush to escape discomfort. He can sit in silence with his own thoughts, face uncertainty without panic, and endure tension without needing to dissolve it immediately. This internal stillness allows him to remain grounded in situations where others would collapse. In negotiation, in conflict, in leadership, this ability to hold tension without flinching makes him appear unshakable. And in many ways, it makes him so. It is important to see that stillness is not about doing nothing forever. It is about controlling the rhythm of action. Those who live in constant noise, constant reaction, and constant movement burn themselves out. They act before they are ready. They speak before they understand. They reveal before they intend. The still man, however, acts when it is most advantageous, and because his action comes rarely, it is noticed, remembered, and respected. His words are valued because they are not scattered carelessly. His decisions carry authority because they are not made impulsively. There is also a kind of fearlessness hidden within stillness. To remain silent while others demand a response requires courage. To wait while others rush requires trust in one's own judgment. To reveal nothing while others try to provoke requires mastery over ego. Stillness, therefore, is not emptiness. It is discipline. It is the ability to govern oneself so fully that no one else can govern you. It is the art of appearing unmoved while the world moves around you. The ability to hold one's ground without broadcasting it loudly. And because so few people are capable of this discipline, those who possess it radiate a rare kind of authority. Confidence is often mistaken for the absence of fear, as though the truly strong feel nothing at all when confronted with danger, uncertainty, or risk. But this is a false image. Every human being carries fear, doubt, and hesitation. It is woven into our nature. What separates the truly confident from the ordinary is not that they are free from fear, but that they have mastered it, transformed it, and turned it into a source of power. Fearlessness in this sense is not the denial of fear, the ability to face it, to hold it, and to use it without being consumed. It is this mastery that creates an aura of authority around a man, for others instinctively recognize that he does not flee from what most avoid. Fear in its raw form is chaotic. It distorts perception, magnifies threats, and weakens resolve. The ordinary man, when touched by fear, becomes restless. His actions become scattered, his words betray anxiety, and his energy leaks into the atmosphere around him. He seeks comfort, reassurance, or escape. But the confident man does something different. He allows fear to surface, but he does not let it dictate his choices. He studies it as one studies a map, seeing what it reveals about the terrain of the unknown. Instead of fleeing, he walks forward with deliberate steps. This alone makes him appear extraordinary, for courage is rare, and most people unconsciously admire it, even when they do not understand it. This shadow of fearlessness is what allows the confident man to remain calm under pressure. Where others panic, he slows down. Where others collapse into hesitation, he becomes sharper. It is not because he is immune to the pressure, but because he has trained himself to endure it. The storm may rage within, but he holds his posture as though nothing moves him. This discipline is not born overnight. It is forged through struggle, through repeated exposure to fear, until its voice no longer carries the same authority. Each time he resists the urge to retreat, each time he acts in spite of his trembling, he builds a foundation that cannot easily be shaken. There is a deep respect that follows this kind of man. People can sense when someone has confronted their own darkness and survived it. The ordinary man tries to hide his fear, pretending it does not exist, covering it with arrogance, noise, or distraction. But the confident man does not hide it, he integrates it. He becomes whole because he no longer runs from parts of himself. Fear becomes a companion rather than an enemy, and through this companionship, he learns to wield it. Fear sharpens his senses, reminds him of what is at stake, and focuses his attention. Instead of paralyzing him, it fuels him. To master fear also means mastering vulnerability. Fear often grows strongest in the places where a man feels most exposed. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of humiliation. These are the fears that quietly control the masses, preventing them from speaking, acting, or daring to pursue what they desire. The confident man, however, looks directly at these vulnerabilities. He accepts that rejection is inevitable, that failure is part of growth, that humiliation cannot destroy him. In doing so, he removes the teeth from these fears. Once he no longer runs from them, they lose their power. What remains is freedom, the ability to act without chains. This fearlessness does not mean recklessness. The reckless man ignores fear entirely and rushes into danger blindly. He is not courageous, he is careless, and his downfall comes quickly. True confidence is more subtle. It acknowledges fear, respects its warnings, and then decides with clarity. Fear is used as information, not as a master. This balance between awareness and control is what gives the confident man his composure. Others may confuse it with luck or natural talent, but it is neither. It is discipline, cultivated through repeated confrontation with discomfort until discomfort itself becomes familiar. The shadow of fearlessness also shapes how a man carries himself in the world. When he speaks, his voice carries weight because it is not trembling beneath insecurity. When he moves, his steps are deliberate, unhurried, because he is not running from himself. When he looks at others, his gaze is steady, not darting away in avoidance. These small signals reveal more than words ever could. They announce that here is someone who has made peace with his fears, and therefore cannot be easily dominated. Those who have not reached this level of mastery often project myths onto the fearless. They imagine that such men were born different, that they never felt doubt, that they possess some gift unavailable to others. But the truth is the opposite. The confident man has simply chosen to face what others avoid. He has endured discomfort where others sought safety. He has walked into darkness where others stayed in the light. Each time he did, he learned that fear is not a wall, but a veil, one that disappears the moment it is touched. This repeated act of piercing through fear builds a strength that no one can take away. The shadow of fearlessness, then, is not about living without fear at all. It is about being able to step into life fully, knowing that fear will always be there, but also knowing it no longer dictates the path. It is walking into uncertainty without shrinking, speaking when silence is safer, and standing firm when every instinct screams to flee. It is this transformation that gives a man his true confidence, a confidence that is not loud or boastful, but steady, deep, and undeniable confidence, as Machiavelli hinted and as timeless psychology reveals, is not built on appearances, possessions, or the applause of others. It is something far deeper, something invisible yet undeniable. At its core lies the inner center of power, a foundation that cannot be shaken by praise or criticism. From there grows the detachment from validation, a freedom from the invisible chains that bind most men. Woven into this strength is the mask of stillness, the discipline of silence and restraint that creates authority without effort. And finally, it is crowned by the shadow of fearlessness, the transformation of fear into a source of clarity, control, and inner fire. When these traits converge, a man becomes untouchable. He no longer bends with the winds of opinion, no longer drowns in the noise of insecurity, and no longer flees from the shadows of fear. Instead, he stands as his own axis, steady while the world sways, unmovable while others tremble. This is the essence of true confidence. Not loudness, not arrogance, but mastery. It is the rarest of traits, yet it is available to anyone willing to confront themselves, to build inward rather than outward, and to carry themselves with the quiet power of those who need nothing from the world, yet command everything through their presence.